we're gonna go through the top lowest pieces of gear that I took on the Appalachian Trail that I would not recommend. All right, let's count down to from my not so bad, like it's number 5, like to like number 1, which is like, no, I don't like this piece of gear at all. Will not bring it. Number 5 was my tent. And I really didn't want to put this one down, but unfortunately, I kind of have to put this one down just because. So I brought the Gossamer Gear, the 1 tent. It wasn't necessarily bad. It never failed on me until like the very end of trail. But I also stayed in a lot of shelters and hostels, especially if it rained. I didn't want to stay in my tent if it rained, if I could help it. I would have preferred to stay in the shelter, mainly because if I stayed in my tent, that means my tent would have gotten wet and then I would have to dry it out. And it was just kind of this whole big process, especially because polysil just like absorbs water. And I was noticing, especially in the beginning, that my tent doesn't really do well in the rain.
My tent has been leaking a touch, so I'm just gonna be a little extra prepared and just put everything in a dry bag.
Like, it's one thing to have like condensation, like that's normal, that's gonna happen, especially when you have a single wall tent. But like this was like to a new level, like compared to the rest of the people that didn't have my tent, it was really bad. And it wasn't just me that experienced it, like everybody who got this tent had some form of flooding issues, condensation issues. The last day in the 100-mile wilderness, we got to the shelter and it was completely full. And the entire, it was gonna rain. Like that night, it dumped. And we knew that it was going to dump eventually. So every single night I made sure I had like a prime tent spot and like staked out all the corners, made sure everything was good. And that night it flooded so badly.
Well, it happened. My tent flooded. It's like completely flooded on the bottom. Like all of that. I'm sitting on water.
All right, number 4 was my backpack. This is so annoying because this could have completely been avoided, but it didn't. So I brought out the like old school, old Osprey Exos backpack. Like you can't even buy it anymore unless you like go on eBay, if you can even find it. And I really wanted that backpack because it was a lot better than the one that they newly came out with. And the problem with it was it did not fit me. The guy that was measuring me at REI said that I needed like a small medium, when in fact I needed like a small, extra small. I have a really, really short torso. Like I am all legs. So when I was even hiking with it, like it would hit the back of my head a little bit. And then in the middle of trails, like you all know, I lost a lot of weight on trails. So my hip belt, like I would like pull it out, like and cinch it as tight as I possibly could. And I pulled it out and I had like an inch or 2. So the weight really didn't sit well on my body. I mean, I did the best that I could, but it wasn't great. So I had to get a new backpack, and that backpack also failed. So I went into REI again because I was like, okay, I need to get a backpack, and that was the only place that I could go. And I got the REI Flash. I think it was like a 55 liter. It was like the bright yellow one. And I loved it. I thought it was great. The problem with it, the cinches on it started to wear out, and every hour I felt as though that I had to like readjust. And that wasn't like just my problem. Like everyone else who had that pack as well had that issue. It was just really annoying because I could have had my old backpack if it just fit me. That would have solved all the issues, but oh well. Number 3 is my neck knife. This did not fail on me. It's not that this piece of gear failed on me, but I saw no reason why I brought it. See, I hate wearing things around my neck, especially heavy things. So I don't really know why I thought a neck knife would be great. The only time that I really used it was I think twice. Once, like twice because I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna give me protection, which we'll get to that in a second. But the other time was like to cut cheese, but eventually I found like this small little like multi-tool that had like scissors and a small little knife that worked better to cut cheese and other things. So there really wasn't a purpose other than like safety. And even then, the whole safety, if you're bringing trekking poles, you're bringing like 2 metal rods with a like metal bit at the bottom of it. So if you really needed to protect yourself from an animal, or if like a weird human was coming after you, you could either swing really hard and knock them out, or spear them, or I don't know. I feel as though that the trekking poles were so much better than like a tiny knife or a neck knife. It didn't make sense to me. Now, like if you're a knife enthusiast, like that's one thing. The only reason why I kept it was because my husband was just like, he's a big knife guy, and he was like, no, you gotta bring the knife. It keeps like, you can sharpen it, you could do. I did none of that. So unless you're a knife enthusiast, you don't need to bring a neck knife. A little tiny, micro multi-tool will do just fine.
Oh dear.
All right, number 2, the shorts that I originally brought on trail. I got these shorts, I don't even know where I bought them. I think it was like either, I want to say Target, but it could have also been Walmart. And I'm not trying to just knock cheap gear, if you bought your stuff at Walmart or something like that. I bought a couple things at Walmart that worked fine, but these shorts were almost like a runner basketball material on the outside, and then a spandex layer underneath. And for some people, they might need that, especially if they are prone to chafing, or it just gives them some more coverage. That's totally fine. But the problem that I had with it is that I got heat rash, pimples all over my butt, and then it also would rub really weird, and then it was starting to fall apart. And so it wasn't really great. So I went when I got my backpack, actually, there was a garage sale going on at REI, and they had these Brooks running shorts, and I switched to that, and the rash, the pimples, all of it cleared up instantly, just because I was wearing material that was a lot more breathable and could withstand the heat, because when we were going through Pennsylvania, there was a couple days where it was really, really hot.
Yeah.
All right, and then the number 1 piece of gear that did the worst performance was the Sawyer Squeeze. I hate saying this because Sawyer, I really do think, is a reputable company, but this piece of gear, the Sawyer Squeeze, I could not, it was such a pain in the butt. Day 1, it failed on me. I was trying to filter water, literal first stream that I went to, and it just completely locked up on me. I couldn't filter any water, which is very, very scary, especially day 1. And then later on, I lost an O-ring. My sport water bottle broke, which is also apparently a weird thing that doesn't happen very often. I just did not have very good luck with this filter. So when I moved to the Catadine, it was, oh my gosh, it was night and day. The Sawyer Squeeze technically can filter more water, but it's gonna take a million years compared to if you just use the Catadine. Sawyer is a great company. They do amazing things, especially with third world countries, and some people love the Sawyer, but for me, I'm gonna say no, it's not my thing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had fun making it. It was kind of fun to, figure out what is my top 5 and my lowest 5. So I'm curious, what is your top 5 and lowest 5? Can't wait to hear your guys' responses, and I'll see you guys in the next one.